Hello and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video with me, Oddward Inhabitant, as your host. So today we're going to cover the elite section of the codex. The elite section is often considered the weakest part of the current Imperial Guard codex, with most choices in it being considered subpar or overcosted. And for the most part, I would agree with this assessment. However, there are some ways of making the elite section usable and viable. So we'll start at the beginning, work our way through. We'll go through each unit, and as we go through, I'll say whether I think it's worth it at all, worth it for fun games, or competitive. So the first unit choice is a classic one. It's Ogrins. Ogrins, however you want to say it. It's basically an ogre in space. So it costs you 130 points, and for that you get 2 Ogrins and an Ogrin Bonehead, who's a sergeant effectively. And you may add up to 7 additional Ogrins for 40 points apiece. Now the stats of an Ogrin are weapon skill 4, which is surprisingly good. I always thought the weapon skill 3, but no, the weapon skill 4. Ballistic skill 3, strength 5, toughness 5, wounds 3, initiative 2, attacks 3, leadership 6, 5+ save. Now Ogrins have been traditionally the close combat unit of the Guard, aside from Rough Riders. Rough Riders were always your sort of one-hit wonders, but cheaper, whereas Ogrins are always more expensive, but in theory hit like a brick shithouse. Now, what do you get for your for 40 points for an Ogrin, basically 50 points for the sergeant? What do you get? Well, the problem is you only get flak armor, you get a Ripper gun, and you get frag grenades. You get the Hammer of Wrath special rule, the Stubborn special rule, and very bulky. You may also take a Chimera or a Taurox as a dedicated transport. So, straight away, I'm sure many of you can see, I'm not going to go to Ogrins too much, because they're not very good, unfortunately. 40 points for a model with a 5 save is terrible, even if you're toughness 5. It just means that everyone's basic weapon out there, it's just going to shred you. It's just going to absolutely tear you to pieces. Most people will be wounding you on 5s, but that's not really a big deal, because most people, a tactical marine squad will just drop. A tactical marine squad will just drop half you guys in one go. 10 tactical marines, they'll just rip through an Ogre in one round of shooting. The Ripper gun is an interesting thing. It's basically it's a burst fire shotgun. Technically it's fully automatic, but Ogrins get a bit excited, so they have burst limiters on them, which is quite funny. Otherwise they'd unload the whole barrel, the whole drum in one go. The Ripper gun itself isn't too bad. It's range 12 inches, assault 3, strength 5, AP nothing, AP dash. So in the old codex, one interesting way that people used to run Ogrins was you would take a squad of 4, shove them in a Chimera, and then do Ogrin drive-bys and unload 12 of these shots 12 strength 5 shots into someone. You do that on top of you having 2 heavy bolters, you're unloading 18 strength 5 shots into someone. And it was quite good. It was all right. It made them usable, and because they were inside the Chimera, they would live. Unfortunately, now with the Chimera only having 2 fire slots instead of 5, and the Chimera being more expensive, and everything just being more expensive, they're just too expensive. They died too easily and too expensive. So no more about Ogrins. They get a big fat do not recommend. The next one you get is Bulgrins, which are essentially Ogrins. They're how Ogrins should always be used. Basically, there's no such thing as Ogrins anymore, in my opinion. If you want an Ogrin type unit, just take Bulgrins. So you're paying 145 points for 3, so 15 more points. And what do you get? We have exactly the same stats, except for you have carapace armor, which means you have a 4+ save, which is fantastic. The weapon you come with is a Grenadier Gauntlet, which is basically a frag rocket, a 12-inch. It's a grenade launcher, so essentially. So it's 12 inch. It's 12 inches. We'll read the full stats. Grenadier Gauntlet, 12 inches, strength 4, AP 6, assault 1 blast. So it's like a slightly. It's a cross between a frag grenade launcher, and a frag rocket launcher. Because it's got the strength 4 of the frag rocket launcher, but the shorter range of the grenade launcher. Not quite. The grenade launcher is 24 inches. If you know what I mean, it's like a crossover. Short range frag rocket launcher is how you can think of it. You also come with frag grenades, obviously, and slab shields. Now, slab shields are really interesting. If you have 2 models of slab shields side by side, the 2 Bulgrins lock the shields together, and they get a 3+ save, and that's a freebie. You've got to put them in base-to-base contact, but that's a freebie right there. So essentially, if you take a minimum squad of these things, 3 Ogrins, slab shields, 145 points, so you've got a 3+ save, and also any models behind them get +1 to their cover save. So that's quite good. So these guys, how I used to say that, I say that conscripts are your moving Aegis defense line. Well, these guys quite literally are a moving Aegis defense line, because you will have a 4-up cover save from being behind them, 5-up for intervening models, +1 for being behind them with slab shields. So really good. Now, any model. So initially, what you're thinking one way of using them is you take maybe a squad of 4 or 5, you stick them in front of your tanks or your infantry or both, and you move them up, and they're providing a great cover save to everyone behind them. Maybe combined with camo netting on a tank. I think if you have a tank in, if you have a tank. What is it? I can't know how you do it. There's a way of getting a tank on a 2-up cover save with these guys. Oh yeah, so you have a tank in a ruin, you give it camo netting, so it's got a 3-up, and then you put these guys in front of it, you got a tank with a 2-up save, Lehman Russ with a 2-up save. It's pretty good, it's very expensive to protect 1 Lehman Russ. For the price of all these upgrades, you could just buy, and the Bulgrins, you could just buy yourself another fucking Lehman Russ. So yes, it might be worth it, but you're spending the cost of a tank to protect the tank. In my opinion, take 2 fucking tanks. So that's the one way of using Bulgrins, and they're tough enough that when your moving Aegis defense line makes contact with the enemy, they'll do quite well, or they'll survive. The second thing about Ogrins is you can actually make them, and I have done this myself. I have 6 Bulgrins just because I decided I wanted them, not because they're competitive. 6 Bulgrins, and you can give them, each one can have a power maul and a brute shield for 15 points. Now I wish you didn't have to pay for this, because if you pay for it, it means you're paying 60 points for a Bulgrin, and the brute shield means you just have a 5-up invuln. Now that does mean you've got a strength 7 dude rocking around, which means he's wounding things like Centurions on 2s and Riptides on 3s. So he is absolutely strong as anything, but it's so expensive. It's so expensive. And what you've got to remember is the slab shield, the brute shield, these don't count as having a pistol and close combat weapon, so you don't get, you have 3 attacks, and that's it. If you charge, obviously you have 4, but they don't have rage or anything like that, so you're rocking 3 attacks basically. So yeah, these guys are good, but they're very expensive. I have personally gone up against a big unit of Khorne hounds. Okay, big unit of Khorne dogs. We're talking. They weren't invis. They could have had invis off, but my opponent failed to get invis off on his Khorne on his dog star. And for lols, purely it was a friendly game, I'd taken a squad of 6 Bulgrins and I had 2 with slab shields and 4 with power mauls, and I countercharged in against this big 20-man dog unit with all these characters. My slab shields just ignored the wounds done by the dogs, and they had a bunch of like sorcerers in there that managed to kill one of the slab shield guys, and then my Bulgrins went to town, and I pretty much wiped the whole unit. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. There was a priest in that squad. They had 4 attacks, rerolling hits. I got rerolling wounds off Battle Hymn. You're looking at 16, 21 rerolling hit, rerolling wound, strength 7 attacks, plus Hammer of Wrath. So they can pack a punch, Bulgrins, but I'm going to, again, like Ogre, say, not competitive, only for friendly games. Ogres, I would say, almost never use. Bulgrins, I would say, they can be used in friendly games, but not competitive games, because they're just too damn expensive. If Ogres were 30 points a model, if Ogres were 25 points, Ogres and Bulgrins, if Bulgrins were 30 points a model, and you paid 5 points for your Power Maul and Brute Shield, because what you've got to remember is you're losing one ability to gain another, so you should almost really not be paying anything, but anyway, then I'd pay for them, because that's 10 points cheaper overall. No, that's a lot cheaper overall. At Ogrins, they were 25 points a model, but for 5 points, you could give them carapace armor, so you're paying 30 points a model. I'd recommend them. But as they are in their current format, I cannot recommend Ogrins at all, and I can only recommend Bulgrins for friendly games. Okay. So the next one, this is when we start getting into units that, well, we have a little bit of hope here. A unit that's actually useful, which is Rattling Snipers. Rattling Snipers, 30 points, you get 3 Rattlings. What do you get for that? You get a Weapon Skill 2, so model, Ballistic Skill 4, hooray! Strength 2, bad. Toughness 2, bad. Wounds 1, standard. Initiative 4, interestingly. Attacks 1, Leadership 6, bad. Save 5 plus. You also get, obviously, you get flak armor for your war gear. You get a las pistol, woohoo. And you get a sniper rifle. And the special rules you get are infiltrate, shoot, sharp, and scarper, and stealth, because they basically got camo cloaks. And you may include up to 7 additional Rattlings for 10 points a model. I like Rattlings. They are the first semi-competitive choice in your code, in the elite section. Okay, 10 points is cheap enough. Considering you're paying 7 points for a guardsman with a sniper rifle, I'm much more willing to pay 3 points for, or 8, or should we say 8 points for a veteran with a sniper rifle. You pay 2 points more, you get infiltrate, you get shoot, sharp, and scarp, which means they can shoot then run, which is surprisingly effective, and you get stealth. So if you were paying for camo cloaks on your veterans, basically the choice you have is between a veteran, where you can only get 3 sniper rifles in a unit, and he costs 10 points, or you can have a Rattling where you can have 10 sniper rifles in a unit. Rattlings are really good. Rattlings, they are good. They have two uses. One, you take a squad of 10 of them. It's only 100 points. Not going to break the bank. And you stick them in a nice bit of cover where they've got good line of sight. And you shoot at a monster's creature. And you just shoot at monster's creatures all game. And you hope for 6s for rending. Over a few turns, 10 Rattlings, put prescience on them, why the fuck not? You can do that. You can order them to have Monster of the Tank Hunter. No reason you can't do that. If you put a Primera Psyker with a squad of 10 Rattlings, you can cast prescience on them, and they're leadership 9 for accepting orders. So you have Ballistic Skill 4 twin linked sniper rifles with rerolling wounds monster hunters. That's actually quite good. Now I haven't playtested that unit. I've had to be brutally honest, I've literally just thought of it now. But for 175 points, that is pretty fucking good Riptide killer. That is a very good Riptide killer, that is, because you'll be hitting with 8 or 9 shots, you'll be wounding with 4, probably get 1 rend from that, but guess what, those 4 you failed to wound with, reroll them. Going to get 6 wounds on a Riptide, 1 of which is going to be rending, so you're guaranteed to chip a wound off, basically. You probably chip 2 wounds off a Riptide every turn. If they're lucky with their feel no pain and their invuln, it might take you 4 turns to kill a Riptide with 10 rattlings. That's not shabby. And if your opponent decides to start shooting at your rattlings, he's killing he's killing fucking midgets with sniper rifles. I guarantee you, he's not going to want to shoot a fucking Riptide at rattlings. No way, son. No way. Because remember, they've got unless he is using a smart missile system, you're going to have, if these guys are in a ruin, you're going to have a 3-up cover save. If you go to ground, 2-up cover save with these guys because they've got stealth. Really good little unit. And if you start finding yourself in trouble, shoot and run. Shoot Sharp and Scarper. So that's number 1 way of using them. Number 2 way, take a unit of 3. You've got 30 points left over at the end of your army. You can't quite decide what to spend them on. Buy 3 rattlings. Stick them in reserve. Outflank with them. Shove them in a corner when you outflank. Find some cover for them. Claim Linebreaker. Guarantee your opponent is not going to notice 3 rattlings sat in a ruin in its deployment zone that don't do anything for turns 2 to 5. Now they do compete with Sentinels in this whole outflank and grab Linebreaker role, but they beat Sentinels at it in 2 ways. They're equal. They're equal. Sentinels are better in some ways. Rattlings are better in others. Rattlings are a smaller target, so your opponent is more likely to forget about them. A Sentinel's quite a big, clunky chicken walker. Your opponent's probably going to notice it and kill it, or try and kill it. Rattlings, 3 little midget models, hidden out of line of sight, in the bottom of a ruin. He's going to forget about them. Also, as we said before, they have stealth, so they can go to ground at a ruin for a 2-up save to try and help keep Linebreaker. It could be down to that. It could be down to the last. It could be down to where your opponent's got 10 points. You've got 10 points in the tournament, and he's like, right, I've got to kill those rattlings, and maybe he fires 5 fire warriors at them. Maybe he's got a couple of fire warriors. Nobody brings fire warriors, but you know, he maybe brings some wind rider jet bikes. They fly back to try and stop you from getting Linebreaker. They shoot their scatter lasers at you. They're wounding you on 2s. That's very true. But guess what? You don't give a shit because you got a 2-up cover save. You'll probably be alright. You'll probably be alright. So rattlings. Actually, I would say that they are good for friendly games and are not a bad choice for competitive games. They're not the best, but you won't be hindered by them. They won't boost your list massively, but your list will not suffer for including them. So semi-competitive. You know, maybe local tournament worthy. Maybe not like a grand tournament, not like a GT tournament worthy, but local tournament worthy, definitely. Okay? Okay, so unfortunately after finding a unit that's quite good, we go to find a unit that's absolutely wank and pointless. And that is the Word Vein Psychos, or Weird Vein Psychos. Not entirely sure how you say it. I'm going to say weird. Weird Vein Psychos. Basically, you pay 60 points for 5 guardsmen. I mean, they're just so shit. I'm sorry. Okay, so you're paying 60 points. What do you get for 60 points? You get 5 Word Vein Psychos. They have Weapon Skill 2, Ballistic Skill 3, Strength 2, Toughness 3, Wounds 1, Initiative 3, Attacks 1, Leadership 8, 5+ save. So they've got worse weapon skill than a guardsman, and they've got worse strength than a fucking conscript. I mean, come on, how weak do you have to be less strong than a fucking conscripted teenager? You know, these guys are seriously rubbish in stat wise, but you're not bringing them for their close combat capabilities. Let's be honest, you're not bringing them for their close combat capabilities. You're bringing them because you, for some reason, decided to take a CAD and want to max out your psychic powers. CADs are good, but you don't need to max out your psychic powers in an Imperial Guard CAD. So what do they come with? They come with flak armor, last pistol, close combat weapon. Special rules: Brotherhood of Psychos, Master level 1. You may include up to 5 additional word vein psychers. They may generate powers from biomancy, wank, divination, good. Pyromancy, wank, telekinesis, wank. This is probably going to be a not safe for children video, by the way. But yeah, not great. And you may include, that's 5 additional psychers for 12 points a model. Okay, if these guys were the same cost as veterans, 6 points a model, I'd say go for it. But 12 points a model for a not very good psych. I mean, for God's sake, I think bloody Elder can take a Warlock for, is it 20 points, 30 points? And he comes with a 4-up save, leadership 10. You know, I don't know the stats for a Warlock, but what I'm saying is 12 points a model for something this bad just should not even be considered. Okay. They are they're just not worth it. The only, if you were taking a CAD, the only reason you'd take it is, like I said, if you want to max out psychic powers. So you would take 3 Primaris Psychers, level 2 each, 2 Astropaths, that gives you 8 warp charges. You'd add 3 units of 5 of these guys, and you'd have 11 warp charges straight off the bat. But all that would probably take out about 400 points of your army. 445 points of your army, I think, just off the top of my head. Something like that, anyway. Because they are, I mean, the only thing to maybe consider is to put them in a Chimera and shoot, like, pyromancy spells out the side, but it doesn't really seem worth it. Now, having said that, there is one way of making these guys absolutely balls out amazing. And it is in the Psychoonna Division formation from the Montcadia supplement. I'm not going to go into it in full detail here because I don't have that supplement in front of me, but what I can tell you is that formation is made up of 3 groups of Word Vein Psychers and a Primaris Psyker and a Commissar who keeps an eye on them, wink wink. Your units generate, because how the formation works is, for every unit within 12 inches of Word Vein Psychers, within 12 inches of the Primaris Psyker, he generates an additional warp charge dice. So you've got a level 2 Primaris and 3 of these squads. You start off with 5 warp dice, and then you get another 3 because you're within 12 inches of the Primaris Psyker. So you get 8 warp dice straight off the bat, which is great. And then also you generate you manifest your psychic powers on a 2+ instead of a 4+, which makes these guys really good. It genuinely makes them much worth it, much more worth it. And it's very, very cheesy, that formation. I'll tell you why, because it allows you to, and I will do a full video on it, but it allows you to summon demons. So what you do is you manifest your powers on a 2+, and you go demonology on every unit, which you're allowed to do now, and you summon as many units as pink horrors as you can physically do, and you keep doing that, because for every unit of pink horrors that you summon, you get another warp charge dice. So you just summon, and it is possible by the end of turn 3 to have a ridiculous amount of warp charge dice for summoning. That's how you use them. Other than in that formation, stay away. They are terrible. They are not worth it. So we got onto the final elites section choice, and it's probably the one that you're all waiting for. The Militarum Tempestus platoon, aka Stormtroopers, for you Veteran Guard players out there. Stormtroopers are absolutely fantastic. However, there is very, very little point in taking them in the Imperial Guard Codex because they have their own codex. So if you take an allied detachment of Stormtroopers or an allied CAD of Stormtroopers, you get objective secure Stormtroopers, and they get their own order sets, which are arguably better in many ways. So really, there's no point in taking them here, but we'll cover them here anyway for the sake of it. So Stormtroopers are our way of there's only one really competitive way of running them, and that is as Suicide Melter, Suicide Plasma squads. Space Marines get drop pods with Assault Marines to double Melter in. We get Stormtroopers with double Melter in. It's 85 points for a command squad, 70 points for a basic squad. We'll stick to the basic squad just for now. For 70 points, you get an Imperial Guard veteran, essentially. So same stats as a normal guardsman, but you get ballistic skill 4. But you get a 4+ save, which is great. You get a hotshot lasgun, which is a lasgun, which is AP 3. So strength 3 bad, but AP 3 okay. You get frag and crack grenades, great. You get deep strike, fantastic. Interestingly, you get move through cover. Read the move through cover rules very carefully. If you deep strike into terrain normally, you get fucked. If you deep strike into terrain and you have move through cover, you have no negative effects. So you deep strike these guys into as much cover as possible. As much as you can, you deep strike them all over that cover because they're not going to be affected by it. No difficult terrain, no dangerous terrain. These guys love moving through cover. You can take squads of 10. I recommend against it because that's quite expensive. It's 130 points for 10 souped up guardsmen. They still die as easy as a guardsman. That's 4 conscripts. The Tempester may take a melee weapon. Again, don't recommend it. Bolt pistol instead of hotshot pistol. Do recommend that because the hotshot pistol's only got a 9-inch range. So use your bolt pistol. It's not AP 3, but it's longer range, so you're actually going to fucking use it. Don't use plasma pistol. Wouldn't bother with Vox Gasters. And 2 Tempest Scions may take special weapons. There's only 2 ways of running these guys. You drop in with double Melter. You use up ballistic skill 4. You deep strike right behind that Imperial Knight. And you shove 2 melter guns up its ass. Simple. Plasma, you can get 2 plasma in a squad, and you can do the same thing. You maybe not against a Riptide, but not against a Imperial Knight, but you can just drop down next to that Riptide, double plasma gun, rapid fire range. Don't need to. You just get up in its grill. Special mention to Militarum Tempestus command squads. And like I said, I'll do a full video on Militarum Tempestus anyway, but for now, special mention, they are essentially exactly the same, except for they can issue 1 order, which is obviously, if they're in the Imperial Guard book, they can only issue junior officer orders, which is bad. In fact, it's really bad. If they're in the Stormtrooper codex, then they get loads of really good orders. But the big thing, the reason you want to take them, is your sergeant's got 2 wounds, the Tempestus Prime's got 2 wounds in the command squads that are 1, and also you may take 4 special weapons in this squad. So if you want to drop the ultimate plasma squad is you drop down there, and this is the only time I recommend you take a plasma pistol ever in the guard with 4 plasma guns and a plasma pistol. You drop behind that Riptide and you kiss it goodbye, that Riptide. We're talking 9 ballistic skill 4 plasma shots, really good. Or again, 4 melter guns and a plasma pistol to maybe finish it off. The only time I ever recommend you take plasma pistols is in a Militarum Tempestus command squad because they're going to die. So make sure that you get as much firepower as possible out of them. The reason I don't recommend them in Tempestus Scion squads is because you want to keep them cheap. So the way I would run normal Stormtroopers and the competitive way of running them, 90 points, 5 man, 2 melters, drop down, pop tanks. They allow us to do marine level shenanigans for quite cheap. And if you take them in their own dedicated CAD, you'll have objectives secured. Not bad at all. So, I hope you've enjoyed the section. Just a quick run through. Ogrins, non-competitive. Bulgrins, friendly only. Ratlings, potentially competitive. Word Vein, crap unless in formation. Stormtroopers, genuinely can be quite competitive, but best run in their own CAD, not as a part of a Imperial Guard CAD. Okay, so I hope you all enjoy this video. I hope it's opened a few eyes, and thank you for listening.